Yo, what's up, nerds? Welcome back to an $100 deck tech. Today is a double feature, so we're going to be talking about two very similar decks. They both kind of try and storm off with Thrumming Stone. This one is Magda. It's about $98, so if you want to work around it, it's cool. So I should probably go through the cards first. Basically, what you're trying to do is bring out Thrumming Stone with Magda, and then use Dragon's Approach to continuously cast through Thrumming Stone, and then just kind of storm off. And then the other dragons in the deck also can burn, so it's more or less just trying to win as soon as you play that Dragon's Approach. So Magda herself, whenever her dwarf becomes tapped, you create a treasure token. Sacrifice 5 treasure to search for an artifact, usually Thrumming Stone, and put it onto the battlefield. Creatures-wise, Impulsive Pilfer gets you treasure. Universal Automaton goes infinite with Clock of Omens. So you tap Clock of Omens and Universal Automaton to untap Universal Automaton, which, because it counts as a dwarf, will create a treasure. And then you tap the treasure and Automaton to untap Automaton and just do that infinitely for infinite treasure. X-Guard Cavalry is haste if you need to attack in with a dragon. Electrostatic Infantry, you're going to be casting a whole bunch of Dragon's Approaches so it can get big. It's also a dwarf. Erebor Flamesmith is going to help burn out with Dragon's Approach and is also a dwarf. Myr Retriever is in case your Thrumming Stone is removed. Vault Robber creates treasures, can tap itself, and is a dwarf, so Plundering Barbarian creates treasure, it's also removal and a dwarf. Professional Facebreaker is going to let you exile the top part of your library and cast it. If you have enough treasure, this is going to help you get to your Dragon's Approaches if you don't have them in hand. Stormkiln Artist will refill your field with treasure, so you have enough mana to cast whatever you need. It can also be like, you cast a spell, create a treasure, sack the treasure to Professional Facebreaker, whatever you want to do. Thunderbreak Regent is one of the dragons. It's going to protect your dragons and just help burn out the opponents. Same with Scourge of Valkas, Wrathful Red. Red Dragon just burns each opponent. Tyrant of Care Ridges can just burn an opponent. Same with Drakaseth and Spawn of Thraxus. It's more or less just trying to... It's more about Dragon's Approach and trying to cast as many of them as possible. But the dragons are backup unless, in case it doesn't happen. So, Locket of Yesterdays will make your Dragon's Approaches cost 1 less for each approach in your graveyard, which you want to get them in the graveyard. So, it's just going to help. There'll probably be 1 red for most of the game if you have Locket. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Fire Diamond are ramp. Mesmeric Orb is going to help you mill your library, because you want Dragon's Approaches in your graveyard to help to activate the second ability and get a dragon. Mind Stone is ramp. Noble's Purse is creating treasure, which you're going to need with Magda. Perpetual Timepiece is mill. Glittering Stockpile is ramp. Clock of Omens, like we mentioned, goes infinite. Scepter of Eternal Glory, you really only have mountains, so it's more or less just a cheaper Gilded Lotus. A Thrumming Stone, of course, is the combo piece. Big Score creates treasure. Same with Unexpected Windfall, can help you get through the deck. Gamble can get your Thrumming Stone, but you gotta be careful. A Book Burning, your opponents probably aren't gonna pay the 6 life, so it's just a mill 6. It's gonna help you get Dragon's Approach in your graveyard. Dragon's Approach, of course, deals 3 damage to each opponent, and you can exile 4 cards. Name Dragon's Approach from your graveyard. If you do, search for a dragon creature and put it onto the battlefield. So that's more or less how you're going to win. You have, I think, 25. So Thrumming Stone is going to exile the... Well, I don't know if it... Does it exile? You reveal the top 4, and you can cast Dragon Approaches from the top 4. Theoretically, since a quarter of your deck is Dragon Approaches, you're going to get one every time and just keep going, but it's not really, like, guaranteed. Seize the Spoils and Pirate's Pillage are going to help you create treasures, draw through the deck. Dragon's Tempest is a nice backup. Descend to Avernus creates the treasures you're going to need as well, same with Trove of Temptation. We're really just trying to get out Thrumming Stone as fast as possible. Cryptic Caves a draw, and Mountain is going to be your main land for the deck. So, little test hand here. Mulligan. And probably bottom... Oh, wait, no, because first mulligan's free. Mountain. Turn 1. Turn 2. Power out. Arcane Signet. Turn 3. Descend to Avernus. Turn 4. Ascent creates 2 treasures. So we've got 6 mana open. I would say go Magda. Turn 5. You're gonna have Descend to Avernus create 4 treasures. Mountain for turn. And then you're gonna sacrifice 5 of the 6 treasures for Magda. Searching out Thrumming Stone, move to the battlefield. It enters. Then we cast Dragon's Approach. So it deals 3 damage to each opponent. Reveal the top 4. And I'm just going to exile them for simplicity's sake. Really, they go to the bottom of the library. But then we have that 1 treasure, 2 mountains, Dragon's Approach, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 2 Dragon's Approaches to cast. Cast the first one. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing. Cast the second one, which that's 12 damage to opponents so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's another Dragon's Approach. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I guess that's where it ends, but that's 15 damage off of 1 cast. And then next turn, we keep casting Dragon's Approach, and Descent will create 6 treasures. So if Thrumming Stone is removed, we can search for the Myr Servitor. Well, where is it? It should be on the... Yeah, Myr Retriever. So then, if it dies, we can return a artifact card. That would be Thrumming Stone if it's removed. And that's how the deck works. So, overall, pretty simple. And then a very similar deck is Arcum Dagsson. It's also going to be using Thrumming Stone. However, Arcum can have you sacrifice an artifact and then search for Thrumming Stone and put it directly on the battlefield. This one is a mill deck, so he's going to help you get out Thrumming Stone. Ornithopter is a free artifact for you to sack. Myr Retriever will help you get Thrumming Stone back. And then Persistent Petitioners is the main way to use this. As far as I understand it, that tap ability, since it isn't actually like, it's not like an activated ability. Well, it is an activated ability, but like it gets around Summoning Sickness. So, as far as I see it, if you can get off Thrumming Stone and get every single Persistent Petitioner, that's about 7 activations, because 28 is 7 times 4, and then that's 12 cards each time, so that's like 84 cards, so you probably just take an opponent out of the game. Bruvac is going to help you double up that mill if you need it. Micromancer is going to help you get High Tide, which is an important part of the deck because you need to have mana. Astral Cornucopia is either ramp or free artifact, same with Everflowing Chalice. Mishra's Bauble is either a free draw or you can sack it to Arcum. Tormod's Crypt is graveyard removal or you can sack it. Aether Vial, because you can get it up to 2 counters and then just play a free persistent on each of your turns. Locket of Yesterdays will make your persistent cost 1 blue. Sol Ring's ramp, Arcane Signet, Sky Diamond, Thran Dynamo, Gilded Lotus, Coveted Jewel, which is also going to draw you 3 cards. You can cheat out with Arcum if you just need the card advantage, and you really can sacrifice any of your, mana rocks to create the Thrumming Stone, or you could trade your Sky Diamond up to a Coveted Jewel, whatever. Instant sorcery-wise, Offer You Can't Refuse is really good. Counterspell-wise, Fading Hope, if you want to return a Persistent Petitioner back to your hand, it'll have you scry one as well, so that you can recast it and benefit from Thrumming Stone. High Tide, since the deck's a little bit high mana, Arcum Dagsson is 4 mana and probably going to be removed. Miscast is a good counterspell. Thought Scour is a little bit of mill, a little bit of draw. Counterspell, of course. Dramatic Reversal, so you can untap all of your Persistent Petitioners and do it again. Familiar's Ruse is going to return a creature to your hand along with countering a spell, so you can recast Persistent, and then, go off with the Myriad, whatever it is, with Thrumming Stone. Counterspell, here's either a counterspell or a draw. Turnabout to untap all of your Persistent. Mystic Confluence to counterspell, draw a card, or return a Persistent. Preordain is draw. Maddening Cacophony, if you have a Bruvac out, you can kick it to have an opponent mill half their library, but with Bruvac, that's their entire library because it's doubled. Solve the equation to help search for High Tide or Dramatic Reversal, whatever you need to help finish off the game. Cut Your Losses is again with Bruvac, but it can also just be a mill piece depending on what you need. Drowned Secrets, if you're casting all 30 Persistent Petitioners, that's 60 cards milled from any opponent's library. Intruder Alarm, so every time you get a Persistent out, it'll untap every other one, and you could just retap them before you cast another one off a Thrumming Stone. Landwise, Darksteel Citadel, Islands, and then Seat of Synod. It's a little bit land light, however you can sacrifice your lands with Arcum in order to get more, or to get out Thrumming Stone or whatever. Play-wise, this one would go something like Island, Persistent, Island, Persistent. We're going to say we miscast something. Island. No, actually not Island. Darksteel Citadel. Tap out for Bruvac. Go to turn. Island. Bruvac. Tap Darksteel for mana. Sack it. We've got a colorless floating. Search for Thrumming Stone and move it to the battlefield. It's out. We have that one colorless floating. Go for Persistent. Cast Persistent. Go for Persistent. Cast Persistent. Go for Persistent. Cast Persistent. And then you just keep going. Theoretically, there are enough Persistent Petitioners to get through the entire deck. Do that. Persistent. 2. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you just keep. And then once they're all out, you tap all of them, have an opponent mill 86, and then theoretically win the game. Theoretically, it also has enough counterspells to help protect the combo. Yeah, that's what the deck's about. So, try these out. A little bit higher in budget, $100, but I saw in the poll I recently put up that that's what people want to see. So, check these out.